Welcome to Board Game Binge, the place where we bring you bite-sized, bingeable board game content from across the industry. I'm your host, James Staley, and in this episode, we're chatting with Hafiz Printer from Printer Inc. Games. His debut title, a high-action basketball card game called Nothing But Net, is currently on Kickstarter. Hafiz, welcome to the binge. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me on.
It is, as you know, my friend, I've been waiting. I've been just sitting in the wings waiting for this game. I think it's been, what, is it 4 years ago when you first...
It's been 4 years, and you and your brother were there from literally from its inception, because we were at a pro spiel, and it was the end of pro spiel. I brought a different game. I'd wrapped it up, and I was chatting with your brother, and he's like, hey, I got like 10, 15 minutes. Do you have anything that you want to try out? I'm like, actually, yeah. And I pulled out a deck of blank cards, and some of them I'd scribbled like stickmen on. I'm like, I got this basketball game, and I took out a ton of dice, and I'm like, let's play it. And we went through it. Was pretty quick. It's meant to be a 15-minute game. He beat me, by the way, at the end on a 3-pointer. It was like a 1 in 6 chance of actually getting me, and he did it. And yeah, from there, we were chatting actually a little bit afterwards. You were giving me some advice on hey, what you could do next with that. And I was still pretty new to everything. And you're like, you send us the rules. I'm like, oh, I got to sit down and write rules now.
This is probably the only example I think of a game where I literally have seen it there from inception. Mm-hmm. Right? I remember as clear as day. And my brother's he was shocked. He's like he literally was just making the cards while I'm sitting there with them at the table, with a pen and like a Sharpie. And I was like, oh my God. So I had to check it out and then seeing the iterations go from there. And I was able to get an early prototype as well to play. And, obviously we gave some feedback, but it was so fun and it is such a cool concept. And I think sports as a whole are tough to do in kind of like a board game design. I've seen a lot. I've seen people do football over the years and do soccer and do different things. So, I'm always weary when I see sports games, but this is the one time I've seen when I've played where it actually emulates the feel of actually playing the sport with someone, which is really cool. So
yeah,
we're going to come back to that in a second, because before we do that, I want people to know who you are as an individual. So how long have you been kind of tinkering around with game design, and when did you first kind of start the journey of this hobby as a whole?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Hafiz, and I'm a teacher by day. And that's actually where games made their way into my life. Well, before that, growing up, we used to play games all the time. It was family pastime. When we have big families, so when people would come together, the kids would be off in a separate room. We'd be playing a game, and the parents and the adults would be somewhere else. And we would always have a blast. And then when I was teaching, I'm a high school history teacher. That's not the most thrilling subject for a lot of students. And so I liked games as a way for me to connect and enjoy and do things with others. And I'm like, well, why don't I bring my interest into the classroom? Let me see if I can make a game. Originally, I was trying to get my students to make a game. I'm like, okay, end of the term, you're going to make a game on what we learned. And every single kid turned in a version of Monopoly. I'm like, okay, not what I was going for, but I didn't actually show you how to make a game. So let me start figuring that out, and then then we'll do it better next year. So I started learning how to make games, which was way more complicated than I thought it was going to be. Not in a bad way, not in a this is huge barriers to anyone who wants to get into game design.
Yeah.
More so that I never really thought that the games that I played were designed by someone. I just assumed that they were I don't know what I assumed, but
just a corporation pumped them out, I guess, or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because it's the same thing with kids think the same thing about teachers. They think they live in the school all year, and that they know all the stuff, and that they just do the thing. There's no planning or anything in the background. And so I started fiddling around with making games specifically for the classroom on topics that had a lot of really cool stuff, politics and movements of people and intrigue and stuff that's really boring if you have to sit down and read it, but kind of fun if you can be the person who's in charge of the decisions that you're making. And so it started from there, and I was just making games for the classroom. And then I just wanted, again, to bring in my own interests. I really love basketball. And when the pandemic hit, all sports got shut down. Wasn't able to watch any basketball. I was in a fantasy league and I was winning. And they're like, no, we're just going to call it this year. No winner. I'm like, damn it. So like, I'll make my own basketball game because there is no basketball, and that's what I'll do. And it actually started off kind of chunky in my head when I was thinking through it. I'm like, okay, it was more of a simulation, but it was really mathy and kind of sucked. And so I swung the other direction. What you were talking about before, can I lean into the feeling of basketball? Because there's a lot of games that are out there that try and make a simulation of what the game is. But then why not just go out and play the game or watch the game or whatever else? I wanted to capture that feeling of actually this is what basketball is like, that tug of war, that push and pull, the trash talking, all of that. And so it just kind of like evolved from there. It was scribbling stick men down. And then at that proto spiel, your brother's like, yeah, let's give it a try. And so, and you guys were really great afterwards, gave me some really good feedback. I started to incorporate that. The game got better. Momentum started to pick up. And so just started to tinker with it and fiddle it around. And it's not meant to be a big intense game. It's meant to be a quick, fast game that you can pull out between other games at a game event or halftime if you're watching a basketball game. And it's something that's been a passion project over the last few years. I'm really excited that it's now live and hopefully people are liking it and that I can get it out to people.
So let's talk a little bit about that, because I know that I think it was like a year ago we were originally going to have you on the podcast. And I remember at that time you're like, hey, I'm going to push my launch back. Can we push the episode back? And of course the answer is always yes, right? And so take me through the thinking at that time of why you decided to kind of push it off.
Yeah, I think the big thing is, something I've been learning is you can't just throw something out there and expect people to know that it's there and that they want it. You can have the greatest product in the world, the greatest game in the world, the greatest whatever in the world. But if no one knows it exists, it's not going to really move. And so we were going to connect in the fall. My thinking was, let me line this up with the start of the NBA season. And I didn't have enough people following me at that time. I was still trying to figure out, how do I get this in front of people? How do I market it? How do I take it to different conferences and things? And I had like a few hundred people at that point in time. Like, this is not enough to actually push it over the finish line. I've been putting so much time and energy into this over the last few years. I don't want to fall short just because I was impatient. I want to give it the time that it needs so that way it can be successful. The great thing with that actually is, because I delayed it, I got more playtesting in. I got playtesting from other people. I made some shifts to make the game more engaging. And so it actually worked out better for the game itself by waiting than had I just tried to push it through in the fall.
It is shocking the number of times. Well, it actually is not shocking to me, quite frankly, where I'll talk to someone and I'll see that they've got like a low count in terms of like the notify me count, or they haven't built any audience at all. And I'll say, well, why don't you push this off? And I always give the example of Jamie Stegmaier's book. I remember it was one of the key things I took out of it is he's quoted as saying, if you delay your campaign, nothing bad is going to happen. But if you launch before you're ready, all kinds of hurt is coming, right?
Yep.
And, if, like you're saying, you spend years on this, right? And do you really want to rush something just because you've created an artificial timeline versus launching when it's ready, when you're going to reap the most rewards, right? So, it's cool. I'm always happy when people say that, because when someone's like, I'm going to push my campaign back, I'm always like, high five. Good. That means you're probably self-aware that you're not quite ready yet. And I'd much rather see a campaign do that than, come on the podcast and then land with a thud right afterwards. So, and especially something like this where I've been following it for so long and I'm rooting for you. Like, I really do want to see you guys be successful, because it is such a cool game. I appreciate that. Right. And I want to see it kind of get to market. So, is there any, have you been working on other games, in parallel to this? Like, being a designer, typically, there's not just one idea. There's lots of parallel things. What are some of the other things you've been working on as part of this journey?
Yeah, I have a whole notebook full of things that I would love to build out. And contests are also really great because they'll pop up and okay, I need a new game to put in for the Cardboard Edison Award or the Ion Award or the Canadian Game Design Award. And so there's a few that we've been working on. One that I'm working with my brother on is a push your luck dice game called The Dice is Right, which leans into just old school you're sick, you're staying home from school, you're going to watch a bunch of game shows on TV, and it's meant to again, yeah, just be something that you can gather people around, and there's a bit of nostalgia there from that time period. And you're racing to win prizes by rolling your dice. There's some dice mitigation. Again, there's some push your luck. And so that's one project that we've been working on. Another one, which has been a bit of a passion project, is a theme park game. And so there's a lot of theme park games that are out there, but you're in charge of building or managing the theme park. But one thing that I haven't seen out there is a theme park game where you're actually a guest going through a theme park. So this is like tentatively titled, and I will not be able to use this because of copyright, Disneyland the game. Um, and my wife and I, we had the chance to go to Disneyland like a few years back,
Yeah.
and I won Disney. Like we rode every single ride when we were there in one day. We did like 40,000 steps. I was on top of it when it came to their app and getting like the fast passes and everything else. And there was something to that as well too. It was kind of fun to be able like, yes, I had the perfect day because I rode everything. And I was thinking, well, what if there was a board game version of this? And we went with family. And my wife's sister, she's more of the I'm going to take it in. I like the theme. I want to have the food. I want to go to the show. Like, okay, cool. So players can have different ways of experiencing this theme park that they're playing. Someone might want to do all the thrill rides. Someone else might want to do like all the food. Someone might want to get the collectibles. Someone might want to do the experiences. So it started naturally kind of coming out as a game. Like, okay, there's different mechanics here, and you're balancing your energy with your budget as you're going through the game. So you have to make decisions on where you want to go and how you want to spend your time, and can you use your money to, save you some time or buy you some things. So that one's still in development. It's not where we would like it just yet, but it's something that I'm really excited about. Because again, growing up, theme parks were the thing. In Canada, we have Canada's Wonderland.
Yeah.
Used to go there every summer, and so that's another project. And another actually big one. The plan is after this campaign, we're going to do a second edition of my brother's campaign. He had done a D&D supplement called Malfunctioning and Malicious Magical Items. It's the equivalent of the Acme Company in Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
Like, remember how everything they would make for Wile E. Coyote would always backfire on
Yeah.
him? It's like that, but for D&D.
Oh, that's cool.
And you mentioned about not putting your not trying to rush your campaign.
Yeah.
When he came up with the idea, from idea to launch was 3 months. He's like, I don't want to wait. I just want to get this done. Thankfully, it funded, but we learned a lot from his campaign that's going to help on this one. This is like the complete opposite. I've spent a ton of time making sure everything is in place so we're ready to run the moment the campaign goes live.
Sometimes you get lucky. Like sometimes the development cycle on things just clicks, right? So I've had, like I got a game coming up on Pocketopia called Happy Heights. And that's been in development for a year and a half, 2 years, right? Garden Geckos, from ideation to campaign was, I think, like 6 months. Like,
Oh, wow.
it was
Yeah, you
fast.
get along with my brother just fine.
Yeah, and so sometimes it just clicks, right? And I mean that's rare. But that's probably the fastest one I ever did, where everything just kind of came together, and the audience were able to build around it very quickly. I would never, even if the game's ready, you never want to launch unless you got an audience
Yeah.
ahead of time, right? That's kind of part of the thing. I noticed when I was looking at your campaign, we're going to show the page here in a second, that you really did your homework, right? So not only did you do your homework on the game itself and getting the game right, but when I look at your page and I look at everything from the structure to the artwork design, not just even the artwork in the game, but the graphic work that's done on the actual campaign page itself is. I mean, I was looking at it, I'm like, okay, I gotta make sure when I do my next campaign, I'm gonna save this page and come back and look at it, because this guy did this really, really well. You've got Launch Boom on there, and you name a bunch of different types of partners that you kind of pulled in. Can you talk a little bit about that process for you and what you went through to try to, I guess, for lack of a word, make this, get it right? Like, what was the process you went through?
Yeah, so I had been trying to read everything and anything that had to do with making a game, crowdfunding a game, launching a game. You mentioned Jamie's book, his blog, the Board Game Design Lab. There's podcasts that are out there. And I was taking all this information in. It was becoming really, really overwhelming. I'm like, you want to know what? there has to be someone out there that could just guide me through this step by step. I feel like I do really well when someone's like, okay, here's the order you do things in so that you don't get scattered and then you're just stressed, but you haven't done anything. Like there's so many possibilities. And so Launchboom came recommended. Several people that I knew had used them. So I met with them and I'm like, look, this is where I'm at right now. This is what I have. Would we be a good fit? And they were phenomenal. We chatted for a little bit. They didn't put any pressure at all. And they're like, this is what this could look like. Here's this free conference video coming up. We walk through the process. So if you want to see a little bit of it, here's some videos. Let us know what you think. And it's exactly what I was looking for. Again, they create courses for you to teach you everything. They're not doing it for you. They walk you through how you can do it so you understand the process. And they also get people who are experts to come in to do sessions every once in a while live that you can then talk with, you can ask questions to. And I thought that was really, really helpful. And so they had a module on here's what you want to make sure that you include in your campaign page and how you want to include it. Like when you go to a campaign page, you want to feel excited. You want to be like, that's really cool. That's the thing that I want. And so because they've had so many people go through their program, they have other people that are part of the community that are like, here's our landing page. Here's how we change things up so that way it was more effective. Here's the feedback we got. And so I had the chance to look at a lot of really great examples to see, okay, this is how they set it up. So it wasn't just theory. It's like, okay, here's what we're telling you to do, or we're suggesting you do. But here's like 5 people that have done this really well. And take a look at how they did it and how they structured it. And it might not work for you, but here's how you could make it work for you. So that was really helpful. I mentioned before, my brother had run a campaign before, and there was some things that we were getting comments in the comment section where people's like, oh, I wish his was D&D related. I wish there was a compendium that listed out all the information. He actually had one on the page. People just didn't see it. And so we're like, okay, this was either too low or we didn't have a clear call to action to say, click here to read the compendium. And then looking at other D&D related pages later on, we realized he wanted to keep his page super short, like see what you need to see, decide if you want to pledge, and then you're done. All the other D&D campaign pages we were looking at were really long because people wanted to sit there, read through the information before they make the decision. And so between my brother's campaign and learning from that, Launchboom's guidance, and then talking to people like yourself, being in spaces like the Board Game Design Lab, Board Game Group, a bunch of these board game enthusiasts, Facebook groups, you kind of see what people are asking for, what they're looking for. And I back a lot of campaigns. I'm a super backer. I know there's certain things that I scroll down to really quick. I want to see what the stretch goals are. I want to see what the cool stuff and the cool things are. I want to know what the pledge tiers are. I like to see videos. I don't usually watch through all of the videos, but it's nice to see that there's a playthrough video somewhere. So then if I want to get a sense of, is this the game for me? I can go and I can watch that real quick. So it's kind of keeping track of all the things. I like all the stuff we learned from my brother's campaign and all the guidance that we got from Launchboom as a course to walk you through. I think it helped merge and make the campaign page a lot stronger than if I had just decided to go in on myself and be like, here's like a bunch of stuff I'm throwing up on the page.
Yeah. It's interesting on the video piece that it's almost like you need to have a number of videos on there to show that you have videos. Mm-hmm. And that's going to drive more clicks than people actually watching the videos. Mm-hmm. So it's like they need to see that there's videos there, but they're not necessarily going to watch them.
You put the work in. I think that's the big thing. People want to see, hey, I'm trusting you. I'm giving you my money. I don't know if this is going to deliver or not. And if people have been burned on Kickstarter before, I have, then how can I trust you? Well, does your page look like it's well laid out? Do your illustrations look good? Do you have the videos where you've gotten other people to say, hey, this game is fun, not just you telling me the game is fun? And I think that brings a lot of comfort to people when they're looking through to say, okay, there's enough thought that's been put into this page. So I'm sure there's been thought that's been put into the game, and I know there's going to be thought put into getting me the game.
The thing I always look for too as a backer is, and it might sound counterintuitive, but the more things that are available to add on, like, oh, I can do this, and you get a plush, and we do shirts, and we do this, all these different things. Those are the ones that make me most nervous because having been on the back end, knowing how complex these things are from a logistical standpoint, especially if you're not dealing with scale, right? Like if you're dealing with under like 500 backers, there's a chance that person's probably going to either A, lose money because they've added way too much complexity into their campaign, or B, this thing's going to be delayed as they're trying to figure these things out. And
Yeah,
so
the game might be done, but they're still waiting on t-shirts.
yeah, so and that's the thing. So often I'll look for campaigns that are a little more streamlined.
Mhm.
Those are the ones I prefer to back because I know that there is probably going to deliver much quicker than one that has all these little bells and whistles and add-ons that they've thrown on, right?
Yeah, and mine is simple because I want my life to be simple. I have three tiers. One is like the
Yeah.
base game, one is the deluxe game, and one is like you get to be in the game and you get extra copies of everything else. I don't have to deal with 100 different items, 100 different SKUs, 100 different barcodes to figure out how am I going to get this to you. These are my three. I'm
Yeah.
going to try and get this game to you as quickly as possible.
That's a good point. You have to barcode every single item that's picked,
Mhm.
right? So if somebody, if you have a bunch of items and they're all optionals, so it's the warehouse is going to be picking the different items based on the order and putting them in the box. Each one of those has to have a barcode they can scan, right? It has to be set up with a SKU number,
Mhm.
right? It has to be logged as an inventoried item so that they can properly pick it. Otherwise, you're going to have issues, right? They can't just kind of look at it and throw it in the box. These are the kind of things that it's important to do your homework to understand, right, before you get into these kind of campaigns. So anyway, I digress. Nothing but net. Talk to me how to play this game. So I'm showing on screen here for
Mhm.
those who want to kind of know how to pick it up. And I mean, the dice tower with the ball is super slick. So congrats on that. But walk us through how someone would play this game. Play
Yeah,
this game.
so it's a pretty quick and light game. It's not complicated. It's not trying to be complicated. It's just trying to feel like you're playing a game of pickup basketball on the driveway courtyard or at the local Y. It is a game where you have cards. There's two different kinds. There's offensive cards and defensive cards, and there's that back and forth tug of war we were talking about before. Your goal is to try and score 21 points before your opponent. You do that by playing your offensive cards. They give you the ability to throw the basketball die into the basketball die dice tower, which is also the box, to see if you score. But you can also combo your cards to increase your chance of scoring. So if you want to pass the ball, well, now you have a higher chance of making a shot, and the odds on the die change. If you want to make sure your opponent isn't going to hit you with some of the defensive cards, you have a crossover card, which means you got by them real quick, and they can't really keep up with you. On the flip side, if I'm playing defense, I'm trying whatever I can to disrupt you to end your turn if I can do that. And so there's disruptive cards, there's cards that just end a turn, and it's very reactionary, right? So if you can pass the ball and I'm able to steal it, I can steal the ball. If you can shoot, I can block. If you're putting up a shot and I want to mess with you a little bit, there's trash talk cards in the game. You can throw one down, you can talk some smack at the table, and it changes how the player rolls the die. Now they have to roll it twice and take the lower of the two, so kind of like disadvantage in D&D. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I also have cards that are special ability one-time use that is only for a specific player. I call them the bag of trick cards, so you can dip into your bag of tricks, and that helps you kind of personalize your gameplay so that when you're playing against the other person, that's something that you have that they don't have. And yeah, so it's just a quick back and forth. You're trying to combo cards, you're trying to disrupt the other person, you're trying to time your cards perfectly. It's got a little bit of a deck builder feel, but I've tried to
Yeah.
shift
Yeah.
away from some of the things that I personally don't enjoy in deck builders. One is sometimes you just have bad cards and you're stuck with bad cards. In this one, all the cards are good, but they're situationally good. So you can have something, but can you
Mm-hmm.
use it in that instance? Or you can adjust your game. So as the game goes along, there's some catch-up mechanisms that allows the player who's behind to actually adjust their game by drawing new cards and adding to their deck. Instead of it going into a discard pile and having to wait for it to get cycled through again, it goes right on top of your draw pile, your personal draw pile. Because if you're falling behind, you need something to help you catch up, right? It's like a Mario Kart. If you get the blue shell, it would kind of suck for you to wait till the end of the race for the next lap to be able to use it. No, just use it right away.
Yeah.
So that's generally how the game plays. You have you're playing cards to score, playing cards to mess up the other player. You're playing your specialty cards to give you an advantage. There is a component that we added in recently because of the delay, which is an energy mechanic where you can actually decide to not play defense and save your energy, and then you earn tokens that you can then use later on for
Mm.
abilities. So if you decide to just be like a one-sided player, you're like I'm not using my energy to rebound or to play defense. You can save up enough of these to maybe help you with something down the line, maybe block the other player, so you got that in your back pocket later on. But you're kind of like it's cost benefit. Do I try and save energy to use a special ability later in the game, or do I just play my defense now to stop you from maybe catching up or even getting ahead?
The one thing and again, kudos to your graphic designer. I don't know if you
Oh,
want to give him a
Catherine,
shout
yeah,
out,
she's
but
awesome. As an aside,
this
she was
page is
obsessed with
so good.
Shaq growing up and had a giant life-size Shaq printout that she used to take with her from place
Yep.
to place. It's gone now, but I feel like we're gonna try during the campaign to harass Shaq. We're just gonna keep tagging him on everything until we can get another life-size printout for my graphic designer.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, she did an amazing job. So kudos to like this is a very, very well designed page. And it doesn't hurt that you've got amazing artwork. So maybe you want to give a shout out to your artist as well, because this is some of the best art I've seen in a sports themed game
Yeah.
as well. Do you want to give a shout out to
Yeah,
that person
absolutely.
as well?
That's Leo Aquino. He is an artist who is out on the West Coast. What's awesome about the board game community is how tight-knit and how we all support one another. As I was working on this
Yeah.
game and sharing art in one of the groups, I actually had another designer reach out to me and be like, "Hey, can you share the contact for your artist? Because their work is so great." So he's done the
Yeah.
art for a game called Kickabout, which is part of Galen's Games Mint Tin series, which is just wrapping up
Mm,
right now, actually. And so,
yep.
awesome campaign. Go check that out. Check out mine too, please. But you can see that same, and he does a really good job of capturing the actual energy and spirit of the game.
Yeah, it is so good. And then lastly, again, I don't want to speak lightly about how cool this dice tower is that you've got. Go on the screen here. Like I've seen other sports games, but the fact that you're actually throwing the ball,
Mhm.
right? Like that's what basketball is all about. It's like you're sinking drain the hoops, right? So actually being able to throw a physical, for lack of a better word, ball, which is your
Yeah.
die, which is
Yep.
roundish, right? That fits the aesthetic of the game. I think just looks so awesome, and it's such a great tie into kind of the overall feel, right? The thematic feel of the game, which I think is important. That yes, it's quick and it's meant to be light, but it's
hmm
immersive,
And that was a goal.
right? And you spend a lot of time making sure it's immersive, which I think is really cool. And when you talk about, there's no bad cards, it's how you use them in combinations to increase your odds of scoring and things like that. I think is a really clever kind of approach to how you chain these things together in a very natural way that fits very well with the theme of the game you're outlining,
And
right?
I design theme first. I know people have different approaches to designing games. Theme helps
Hmm.
me think of mechanisms. But both the die that's supposed to look like a basketball and the box that turns into a basketball net weren't my ideas. You and I were chatting because I used to have four different die for this game, four different dice. And you're like, you can make a round dice and it'll feel like a basketball. And um, if you use a D20 or a D12, you have all these different odds. So you can actually take the odds onto your separate dice and fit it on one. And I was like, how have I not thought of this before? So we were able to shrink
Yeah.
it down to a single die that looks and feels hopefully like a basketball. And then I always wanted the box to be something that you could throw your die into and you could see your rolls. And my brother's like, well, why don't you just make it a dice tower? And that way you
Yeah.
could just throw it into a net. I'm like, that is brilliant. Now we just need,
I remember I mocked one up in my office, and I was playing with my brother, and we
yeah,
were playtesting it. And it's the same thing. We were throwing the dice into the box where we had like a little net that we had kind of like a
yeah.
backboard, right? Which was kind of fun. But again, it all ties in quite well. And the only equivalency I could think is if someone was doing like a
Mhm.
football game and had like almost like a D4, because you see some of those
Yeah, like
D4s
a
that look
football.
like yeah, and it's like a
Yeah.
football shape. And actually rolling a D4 or having a D4 that you're actually throwing through through the
hmm
goalpost, right? Kind of like emulating like a field goal or something like that would be kind of cool. But you've done it very well in here, so kudos to you on that. What's the next step? So immediately
hmm
after this, obviously
Yeah.
fulfillment, um, and is it now getting on to one of these other games you're working on, or kind of what's the plan? How have you mapped out the remainder of
Yeah,
this year?
definitely going to take a bit of a breather after after this one. Yeah, take
A
a
lot of
few
work.
weeks,
Yeah.
just like let it sink in, figure out the logistics. We've done a lot of the back end, so it should be a bit smoother. We were actually chatting about that before this. And then we're gonna launch the second edition of My Brothers. And so we're gonna add some new items to his collection. His was a box that was shaped like a book before. We kind of want to turn it into a
Mhm.
mimic, so it still looks like a book, but when you open it up, there's like illustrations that makes it look like it's a monster trying to eat you.
Oh, that's cool.
So we're thinking his will be next, and then during that time, spend a bit of time working through the Dice is Right. That one's a little bit further. We're torn on whether that should be a roll and write or if that one should be something that is physical, that comes with boards with that's dual board where you can actually place your dice into it. So
Mm.
we're actually going to be at the next Proto Spiel that's taking place here in June. We're going to be testing out that one as well as hopefully the theme park one to see which one's resonating more. And we're going to see which one is connecting with people more. That's going to get our attention. And we're going to
Yeah.
work on that one next.
Oh, amazing. Well, this is launching. I know we're doing our pre-record, but this is launching
Mhm.
today. For people that are watching and listening to this video, I encourage you to check out Nothing But Net. I'll put a link in the show notes so people can find it easily. But if you want to go to Kickstarter and just type in Nothing But Net, check out this guy's campaign. At the very least, do yourself a favor. If you're looking at getting into this industry, this is the standard, right? This is kind of the gold standard. Check this page out and just quite frankly copy the structure they have here. You're going to save yourself a boatload of time. And while you're there, check out the game and maybe throw a pledge Hafiz's way because he definitely deserves it with the design you've had here. A lot of time, thought has gone into it, and I want to wish you all the best, my
Thank you
friend,
so much.
in this coming year and with this
That's
campaign.
great. Thanks for chatting with me.
All right. Take care. Cheers. This has been an episode of the Board Game Binge podcast, hosted by James Staley, produced by James Staley and Mike Bruner, with original music by Nick Smith. If you would like to watch these interviews live, simply subscribe to our YouTube channel, Board Game Binge, and you'll get access to live interviews, giveaways, and interesting board game content from across the industry. I can't wait for you to join us. See you next time.